Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Jamaica's opposition warns of action as government refuses to roll back its controversial tax package. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, March 23. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Members of Jamaica's main opposition People's National Party, the PNP, walked out of Parliament on Wednesday to protest the government's refusal to adjust its $13.5 billion tax package. And they say more action in protest of the tax is planned. After chanting, roll it back, as Finance Minister Audley Shaw was closing the 2017-2018 debate, the opposition parliamentarians left before the vote was taken. The PNP says opposition against the tax package is widespread and the party will be discussing with affected Jamaicans what the next course of action should be. We get more in this report from Herman Green of TVJ News.
The moment the opposition People's National Party, PNP, stormed out of Parliament. Not even appeals for order from the Speaker of the House, Pernell Charles, would stop them. So they moved from the main chamber to here.
We are protesting the tax package in particular that is contained in this budget.
And that, the incoming opposition leader said, is the main reason for their action on Wednesday. They say in so doing, they stand with the consumers and business operators across the country who have been complaining about the implications of the budget and the associated tax package. Dr. Phillips believes that the last two budget presentations are a clear indication that the government is not listening to the people.
In no area at all has this government shown any willingness to make any adjustment despite the widespread cries and appeals that have been made by the people of the country.
But we asked Dr. Phillips, why a walkout? Why didn't the opposition choose to stay in the House and vote against the government's proposals?
The circumstance of a successful no vote in the Parliament at this time would have had catastrophic and far-reaching implications for the country as a whole and its credibility in international financial markets and the stability of the country, social and political.
Additionally, two opposition members, Homer Davis and Ian Hales, were absent and so would have weakened any attempt to stop the government. So, having taken this step, what's next for the opposition in this regard?
We will, over time, be having consultations with people all across the country. We are going to be explaining the elements of the budget more fully, and we are going to be consulting with the people to see what actions they would want to take in conjunction with us.
The Catholic Church in Trinidad and Tobago is urging the government to rethink its plan to resume hangings. Speaking days after Prime Minister Keith Rowley declared his support for the death penalty and said his government is doing all in its power to bring it back, the Archbishop of Port of Spain, Joseph Harris, says that's not the answer to the country's crime problem. We get more from CNC3's Janelle Bernard.
Archbishop Harris says the last time this country exercised the death penalty, there was a dark cloud over the nation.
There were a lot of people writing and saying how awful it felt and how barbaric it felt to have 9 people hanged in 2 days.
He says the effects of those hangings were short-lived.
It wasn't something that brightened the soul of our people. And truly it had no lasting effect.
and he believes attention needs to be paid to the causes of crime. The Archbishop says if there is to be a reduction in violent behavior, the bottom-to-top approach should no longer be the norm.
Hanging will not stop drugs coming into the country. Hanging will not stop people fighting for turf. And so the murders will continue.
And the Archbishop is speaking out against this country's education system.
We have an education system which creates criminals, and we're doing nothing about it.
Staying in the Twin Island Republic, a joint select committee of Parliament examining the operations of the Teaching Service Commission and the Ministry of Education says it has uncovered dysfunction and chaos. Members of the committee said tardiness among teachers and lack of middle management in educational institutions are resulting in school violence and high rates of failure. We get the details from Ria Rambali of CNC3.
What is coming out here is total dysfunction and chaos.
It was not what Chairman Ian Roach was hoping to find when he was asked to examine the operations of the Teaching Service Commission and the Education Ministry.
The Teaching Service Commission is failing the children.
This, as the Commission revealed, there are roughly 3,000 teachers on the Order of Merit list.
These people are waiting to be placed in schools, but there are no vacancies.
But Chairman Dr. Fazal Khan says the Commission has bigger problems. Dr. Ali reveals that hundreds of teachers from various teaching districts lost over 7,000 teaching hours due to late coming. And with failure rates as high as 56% in some schools, he says the Commission can only write to the Education Ministry asking for action to be taken. Thus far, the Ministry has merely flagged the delinquent teachers.
We are greatly distressed that the irregularity and the punctuality of officers is horrendous.
It's not the only area the Education Ministry fell short. According to the Teaching Service Commission, an analysis done found schools without deans and middle management had more delinquent students.
All the schools where there was no middle management, you have violence.
Dr. Ali said the Commission begged the Ministry to implement a moratorium to fill the positions. However, the Ministry chose to advertise the positions instead. But JSC members were not pleased.
And the Ministry has to improve on its level of efficiency in meeting and treating with this situation. We can't have our children in the schools behaving as they are behaving.
Meantime, the faculty and staff at the University of Guyana are protesting no pay increases for this year. They say the administration is refusing to give them what government has already allocated to the university in this year's budget.
What they are trying to do is to play different sides of the university off against each other and to use our situation, to use the delaying of the payment of our increase as a factor in a request for an increase in tuition fees.
Dr. Pat Francis, past president of the UGSSA, and Sherwood Lowe, a lecturer, said that the Vice Chancellor is trying to undermine the process.
He is not unlocking the potential of more than 700 workers here on campus, but rather he's more interested in diaspora and he's more interested in etiquette. He's not interested in fixing the fundamental problems of the university. And therefore, and he has to be reined in.
So we asked the Vice Chancellor to sit down with us, discuss how his money should be allocated. If he has plans to use the money in other areas, let's hear about those plans. At the end of the day, I'm sure we can come to an agreement in the best interests of the university. But for the Vice Chancellor to avoid trying to meet with the unions is, to me, very disrespectful. It goes against industrial practices. It goes against trying to find a good solution.
The union plans to picket the campus for the next 3 days and then make an assessment. If there is no movement, the union plans to step up the pressure.
Report was from Royston Drakes of Capital News. Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, the IMF reports some positive news about the Grenada economy. Stay with us. There's more news after the break.
Every day across the Caribbean, non-food goods made locally, regionally and internationally make their way into the hands of consumers. And from time to time, some of those goods may be defective and might actually cause harm. The CARICOM Rapid Alert System for the Exchange of Information on Dangerous Non-Food Consumer Goods, CAREX, has been set up to protect you. If you receive dangerous goods, you can file a complaint with your local CAREX contact point, or you can log on to www.carex.caricom.org and fill out the online form. The relevant agency will investigate, and once that is complete, the CAREX system will alert other countries in the region so that consumers will be protected from goods that pose a serious risk. For more information and to see the categories of goods covered under the system, visit www.carex.caricom.org or contact your local CAREX contact point. The CARICOM Single Market and Economy. Make it work for you.
Round Hay Pharmacy now has 2 locations to fill your prescriptions promptly and efficiently. Our branch at One Accord Plaza is open daily, including Sundays and bank holidays. Also, check out our new drive-through location at Warren's Healthcare Complex in Michael, the first and only drive-through pharmacy in Barbados. For more information, call Round Hay One Accord Plaza at 421-7863 and our new drive-through branch at Warren's in Michael at 424-5574.
Welcome to Dominica, a true fantasy island. Whether you're in search of extreme adventure or a family vacation or a relaxing getaway, Dominica is fun for everyone. And a place where you can totally disconnect and enjoy paradise. Discover Dominica, the nature island.
Welcome back. The International Monetary Fund says Grenada's economy grew by almost 4% last year. An IMF team has just completed its 6th review of the country's homegrown structural adjustment program, which is supported by the fund's extended credit facility. Head of the IMF team, Nicola Frambois, told a media conference in St. George's that government's overall performance during the last phase of the homegrown program was strong and it made progress toward achieving key goals. We get more in this report from Josanne McKee-Smith of GBN News.
Government has set an ambitious target to surpass the ECCU target of reducing debt-to-GDP ratio to 60% by 2030. Head of the IMF delegation, Nicola Frambois, also indicated that the country will see a moderate 2.5% growth in the economy this year, but says Grenada's debt-to-GDP ratio is still too high.
It's not a treaty, it's an agreement collectively to reduce their debts to 60% of GDP by, originally it was 2020, Mike, now it's 2030. So when this government was developing its own program, and that was a guidepost, but they also wanted to go a little further, and they chose a target in the medium term of 55% of GDP. And that is still the target, which has been clearly laid out in the fiscal responsibility legislation.
Ms. Laframboise explains what would have contributed to this reduction in the GDP ratio.
Debt restructuring. Well, out of the 36%, 13% of GDP was due to that. Then you have also strong growth, which is in the denominator. The more growth that you have, the more that helps to raise the denominator and lower the ratio. That accounted for approximately 19% of the decline in the ratio. And third, every year that you operate the government, like in your household, you have a balance on your expenditures and revenues, and you have either a surplus or a deficit. And if you have a deficit, you borrow. And if you have a surplus, you either save or you pay down debts. And because over those 3 years, the government moved from a deficit last year into finally a surplus. And that adjustment also helped contribute.
to behind praise of this performance under the program, but strongly recommends that improvements are needed in areas of youth unemployment and agriculture. Now that Grenada has reached the end of the IMF program, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell spoke of steps that must be taken going forward.
Our task now is to further expand economic opportunity. There must be intervention, stronger intervention in the agricultural sector, because we see there as a serious area of opportunity. The continued attraction of private sector initiatives, I think, had to be a trust of government. So the role of the Citizenship by Investment program is certainly going to be a continued major factor. We should be able to take more advantage of the opportunities of tourism.
Still in Grenada, police are assuring citizens that the country is safe. That as fears mount about the possible increase in crime after a group of Grenadians was deported from the United States for their involvement in criminal activities. Assistant Superintendent of Police Sylvan McIntyre says all monitoring procedures are being followed. Eugenia Peters of GBN News has the story.
According to ASP Sylvan McIntyre, the 5 deportees arrived via a chartered flight from the United States as part of a regional deportees operation. There have been concerns by members of the public as it relates to their safety, pointing out that the crime level in the United States is of a more sophisticated manner and the potential for copycat scenarios. The deportees received custodial sentences for offenses such as possession of arms and ammunition, arson, and the possession of illegal drugs. ASP McIntyre says the deportation of persons with criminal records is not a new issue and they will continue monitoring efforts.
I want to reassure the general public that our Commissioner is in constant communication with our Minister of National Security, and obviously that has been an aspect of discussion. And what we are doing at the moment is ensuring that we do have proper procedure in place. As I indicated before, we have enhanced some of the structures that we have already had in place to ensure that no stone is left unturned in following and understanding where these people are when they come back to our island.
He says, however, there is a thin line between follow-up and discrimination.
These persons would have committed offenses in the countries and territories that deported them. In some instances, the offenses committed may have particular implication and serious nature, depends on the law of that state. A particular crime, its seriousness may not be as serious, depends on the law that we have here in Grenada. The stigma, though, is that once persons have been found guilty of a crime, there is a thin line, as I indicated before, between discrimination and follow through. And we have to guard against persons who may have served sentences, who may have had single crimes committed. And in this instance, they would bear the brunt of the stigma from persons who may continually want to label them as criminal despite they having committed an offense or offenses in other territories.
Police in the Bahamas are investigating an incident on Tuesday night in which parliamentary registration staff were robbed at gunpoint. 3 female workers were preparing to leave a voter card distribution center when 2 armed men robbed them of cash and a cell phone. Minister of National Security Dr. Bernard Nottage said no one was physically hurt and no voter cards, official equipment or documents relating to the registration process were stolen. He also revealed that no officer was present at the time of the robbery.
We have had discussions with the police force, and I've been given the assurance that this matter, or the absence of an officer, will not be repeated for the future. With respect to the integrity of the voting process, at the time of the robbery, all of the voters' cards, it was at the end of the session, and all of the registration paraphernalia was not in the location.
And ahead in Caribbean Newsline, the West Indies coach looks ahead to the upcoming T20 series against Pakistan. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Have you or someone you know been diagnosed with diabetes? If so, it is important that you know about Glucerna.
Glucerna is a nutritional supplement for people with diabetes and contains Carb Steady, which helps minimize blood sugar spikes. Manage your diabetes with Glucerna. Glucerna, nutrition for people with diabetes, designed for you.
With the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, opportunities to relocate for work as a CARICOM skilled national have been expanded to include 10 categories of persons. 2 of those categories are artisans and household domestics holding a Caribbean Vocational Qualification, or CVQ. A CVQ is a certificate you can apply for based on how well you do your job. If you are certified as a household domestic, including housekeepers and home health workers, or an artisan, including persons in the building trade, craft persons, and machine operators, you could be eligible to move for work. CVQ standards have been developed with regional employers, so your skills will be recognized wherever you go. Contact your national training agency to find out about CVQs for artisans or household domestics, or visit csmeonline.org for more information. The CARICOM Single Market and Economy. Make it work for you.
Welcome to SwiftPack, your online shopping and shipping solution. Receive the best rates, expert cargo management, and exceptional customer service. SwiftPack provides secure handling of your smallest packages to your largest cargo with speed and reliability. We invite you to use our US mailbox service, online shopping, ship air and ocean cargo from the supplier to your door. We handle it all for you. Get started now. Sign up for a free regular account or premium account, or give us a call on 440-6100. SwiftPack. You shop, we ship, you save.
West Indies batting coach Toby Radford said Thursday the regional side would try to make home advantage count in the upcoming T20 series against Pakistan as they attempt to make amends for their dismal showing last September. But 7 months ago, the reigning T20 world champions found themselves on the end of a humiliating series whitewash in the United Arab Emirates against Pakistan, as Pakistan convincingly won the 3-match series on home turf. But with more familiar conditions in the Caribbean, Radford said he was anticipating a change in fortunes.
The big thing when we played out there, we found that the pitches were particularly slow and obviously suited their spin bowlers, and they made very, very big boundaries and made us run a lot. So I think, potentially hopefully the wickets will be a little bit quicker here, more of what we're used to. We're used to playing on these surfaces. And when you're on your home patch, everyone's really up for playing and wants a win. So I hope we're going to get a lot of good support as well. But very much ready for a good show from everyone.
And while the side will be without the likes of T20 stars Chris Gayle, Dwayne Bravo and Andre Russell, it includes other big names like batsman Kieron Pollard and Marlon Samuels, along with leg spinner Samuel Badri. Selectors have also opted for first-timers Jonathan Carter, Jason Mohammed and Virasamy Permaul, coming on the heels of their good form against England in the recent one-day series, and the move is one Radford endorses.
Carter and Jason Mohammed played very well in the 50-over tournament recently against England. And I think it's great that their form has been recognised by the board and they're giving them an opportunity in this format as well. So that's great. Kesrick Williams bowled very well in Abu Dhabi against Pakistan. Bowled very straight. If they missed, he hit. Mixed his pace up well. And Sami Permaul, I remember him on the HPC when we ran the HPC here in Barbados 4 or 5 years ago, and was always a quality spinner. So I'm delighted he's getting an opportunity. So I think it's an exciting team, mix of real talent that's been there and done it, and some youngsters who show great quality. And I think putting those together, I'd love to see that we're going to put some good performances together.
Over to football. Trinidad and Tobago Soca Warriors head coach Dennis Lawrence is defending his decision to bring former captain Kenwyn Jones back into the squad to face Panama at the Hasely Crawford Stadium. Jones was dropped from the last 28-man squad under former coach Tom Saintfi, who was not satisfied with the striker's style of play. But Lawrence says Jones still has a lot to offer the national side.
I'm here, and he's come to do what I've asked him to do, to come and represent his country again. When players are in the moments and the periods that Kenwyn is in, Kenwyn needs support from the Trinidad and Tobago fans. Kenwyn needs support from the people around him. My job is to help Kenwyn and to prepare Kenwyn to perform on the match day. My belief is that Kenwin has got a lot to offer Trinidad and Tobago football. I see a path for Kenwin to play with Trinidad and Tobago football, and I think he deserves the opportunity to be given the chance, and that's why I selected Kenwin.
Lawrence also stressed the importance of TNT beating the Central American side in Friday's game.
I'd love to win the game, and I think we all understand that if we don't win the game, then we mustn't lose the game. Because one of the most main important things is if we can, for whatever reason, come out with 4 points, which is, if we can win this one and get 1 against Mexico, great. If we get 1 here and we get 3 against Mexico, great. So either way or the other, the most main important thing is we mustn't lose the game.
Meanwhile, the former TNT captain says he's glad to be back in national colours for the crucial World Cup qualifier. Jones, along with midfielder Kevin Molino and defender Joven Jones, are likely to make the final 11 on match day. Back in September, Molino and Joven were both suspended under former head coach Stephen Hart after they broke camp during a World Cup qualifier in Suriname. Now that the trio is back, they are hoping to make their new national coach proud.
It's the return of the prodigal sons, with Kenwin Jones, his namesake Joven Jones, and Kevin Molino all back in Coach Dennis Lawrence's first squad, an indication that all is forgiven and it's now down to doing the best for TNT as a unit. Joven was due back home on Tuesday as the last member to join the squad, but already home were both Kenwin, the former captain, and Molino, who can't wait to get started against Panama on Friday, thinking that this day may never come again.
Very excited, but humble about it. We have 2 games to take care of. First and foremost, we have to take care of the game Friday, and all the guys come in fit and ready to go, and we're looking forward to the game. And we do our best it takes to make our country proud, and this is a turning point for us, I believe.
And so, like many of the others, Molino is happy with the mood in the camp, especially the direction being articulated by the new coaching staff led by Dennis Lawrence.
First, very professional, since I come in camp, and all the guys are listening, and plus they are good leaders. They've been to a World Cup and they know what it takes to get to the World Cup, and I'm very excited and looking forward to the 2 games coming up.
And that report was from Ruskin Mark of C Sport. And that's the news. That's the sport, sorry. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Round Hay Pharmacy now has 2 locations to fill your prescriptions promptly and efficiently. Our branch at One Accord Plaza is open daily, including Sundays and bank holidays. Also, check out our new drive-through location at Warren's Healthcare Complex in Michael, the first and only drive-through pharmacy in Barbados. For more information, call Round Hay One Accord Plaza at 421-7863 and our new drive-through branch at Warren's in Michael at 424-5574.
One aim of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, is for CARICOM nationals to be able to move in the region, to seek work, to visit, to establish a business, or to provide services. CARICOM also provides a complaints procedure which allows you to report any instances where you have experienced difficulty in accessing your rights, either on arrival or once in the country. Simply complete the form provided online and at a number of locations. Submit it to the CSME focal point in your home country, the country where you had an issue, or via the web. The complaints procedure works to safeguard access to CSME for all CARICOM nationals. For more information, visit csmeonline.org or call your local CSME authority. The CARICOM Single Market and Economy. Make it work for you.
Again, the major developments of this day. Jamaica's opposition warns of further action after a walkout of Parliament to protest government's refusal to roll back its controversial tax package. And in sport, West Indies batting coach Toby Radford says the regional side will try to make home advantage count in the upcoming T20 series against Pakistan. That's Caribbean Newsline. Have yourselves a good night.